Hip-hop has for the most part had a long-running issue with the police, an organization deeply rooted in white supremacy. There's even the notorious hip-hop cops, whose main goal is keeping tabs on rappers. Here's 10 songs where rappers really let the police have it on record. Up first, we have the song that shook hip-hop and basically brought police brutality to the awareness of the mainstream, Fuck the Police. This classic track is not only one of N.W.A.'s most well-known songs, but also one of the go-to protest songs when the topic comes to mind. It was featured on N.W.A.'s first album, Straight Outta Compton, released in 1988, and is arguably the foundation for the numerous police brutality and protest songs that would arise from the genre for years to come. How many songs can you name that caused the FBI to write a letter to a rap group? Black rage brought upon by hundreds of years of mistreatment. The song was relevant back in 1988 and remains relevant even now. It's easily one of the most controversial songs in rap without a doubt, and a heavily sampled one at that. Now we move over to New York for Just a Friendly Game of Baseball. Main Source released their debut album, Breaking Atoms, in 1991, which is considered a classic by many, and is well known for the track Live from the Barbecue, which features a young Nas before Illmatic. The East Coast was no stranger to police brutality, however, like the West Coast, as the track Just a Friendly Game of Baseball is once again a track about police corruption. This song, unlike F the Police, had the group taking a different approach. Like the title suggests, Large Professor uses several baseball references to describe police brutality, for example with the lines, "To the cops, shooting brothers is like playing baseball and they're never in a slump," or "Once a brother tried to take a lead but they shot him in the face saying he was trying to steal a base," and other metaphors. One of the more creative ways to tackle such a grave topic. It's a sharp contrast to the much more blunt and hard-hitting approach of N.W.A.'s take on the subject. I considered leaving the infamous track Cop Killer off the list, as it isn't even rap, but Ice-T is the co-founder and vocalist for the song, and he was a rapper first, so here we are. The song is from Body Count's self-titled debut album, and perhaps takes N.W.A.'s F the Police to a whole new level of direct, visceral threats to the police rather than F you. In the outro, he even mentions Daryl Gates, the chief of police in LA at the time, as well as Rodney King, who was brutally beaten by police in March of 1991, which was one of the driving forces behind the LA riots of '92. The song caused a lot of controversy, arguably the biggest of its time from a rapper. Several politicians, including the president and vice president at the time, as well as law enforcement members, opposed the song, while others defended it, citing the First Amendment, freedom of speech, and the problem of police brutality that unfortunately affects black people more than white and is a major problem in general. Some even boycotted Warner Brothers, the record label that released the record, and sent threats to the label as well. According to Ice-T, he removed the song from the album on his own accord and left the record label due to financial disputes. But the song still lives on in the heart of those who face injustice by the police till this day. From LA to New York, and now to Texas, we can see that police brutality is not just a regional thing by any means. From the Ghetto Boys' fourth album, Till Death Do Us Part, we have the track Crooked Officer, released as the first single from the album early in 1993. As the title states, the track is of course about crooked police officers, and each of the Ghetto Boys states exactly what they're due to them throughout this hard-hitting track. Just like Ice Cube did in F the Police, the group also calls out black police officers in particular for their treatment of their fellow black men, and in Bushwick Bill's verse is another reference to the Rodney King beating. The song shares a sentiment of cop killer with getting revenge on those corrupt officers, and features a catchy chorus by new member Big Mike, who replaced Willie D, who had recently left the group to go solo. Now, who would have thought that one of the most sampled songs of all time in rap would be a song about such a heavy topic as police brutality? Whoop whoop, that's the sound of the police. It might sound funny, but that noise strikes fear and anxiety into the hearts of many, unfortunately. From KRS-One's solo debut album, Return of the Boom Bap, released in 1993, we have Sound of the Police, which was released as the album's second single. KRS-One makes a disturbingly accurate and eye-opening comparison throughout the second verse in particular by the juxtaposition of a police officer and plantation overseer with lines like, You need a little clarity? Check the similarity. The overseer rode around the plantation. The officer is off patrolling all the nation. Essentially, the plantation overseers and slave catchers have turned into the police force that we have today. Next up is a track inspired by songs like Public Enemy's 911 is a Joke and Body Count's Cop Killer. The Game made his own protest song at the senseless killings carried out by the police, and like PE's, it's also titled 911 is a Joke. However, instead of taking aim at the ambulance, this one takes aim at another arm of the emergency services, the police. According to interviews Game has had after the release of the song, he states that he reached out to several people to be on it, but everyone turned him down. The track was released early in 2008, some months before his third album, LAX, was released, and the track was essentially a response to the 2006 shooting of Sean Bell and his friends by police officers, and the subsequent acquittal of the police on all charges. Atlanta's own Killer Mike is well known for being not only a skilled rapper and one half of the duo Run the Jewels, but also for being an activist. On his fifth solo album, Rap Music, Killer Mike tackles the topic of police injustice on the third single from the album, Don't Die. Throughout the song, he tells a story about cops coming into his home and proceeding to threaten and assault him, then him taking one of the cops' guns and shooting back in self-defense and going on the run. Now, his narrative might be a fictional experience, but it's sadly something that does happen, as he makes references to people like Fred Hampton, who was shot and killed in his own home while sleeping when police raided the place looking for him, similar to the beginning of the first verse of the song, as well as references to N.W.A. and Assata Shakur, who had gone on a run and fled to Cuba to escape authorities in the United States. This next one is probably my favorite track on this list and favorite song by Vince Staples. Hands Up was released as the second single from his debut EP, Hell Can Wait, released in 2014. The track was released after several incidents of black males being killed by the police, like D'Angelo Lopez and Tyler Woods, who were both killed in his home state of California in 2013, as referenced in the very beginning of the second verse with the line, D'Angelo Lopez and Tyler Woods, just a couple they gunned down around the hood. Throughout the song, he makes references to Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale from the Black Panther Party, as well as calling out the hypocrisy in the justice system, with police getting away with killing people, but if the reverse were to happen, then we would receive the death sentence. Being a California native, he calls out the LBPD, LAPD, and LSPD in particular, which are the Long Beach and Los Angeles police departments, which is where Vince is from. The song speaks to the newly found rage of the next generation of rappers and youth experiencing the same problems that our predecessors did years prior. We're working our way up to one of the most recent tracks on this list, and things come full swing by this being an Ice Cube track, Good Cop, Bad Cop. Released for the 25th anniversary edition of Ice Cube's second album, Death Certificate, and then later released on his 2018 album, Everything's Corrupt, Ice Cube aims directly at the police again, just like in F the Police, this time solo and coming from an older and wiser Cube. Throughout the song, he makes comparisons between a good cop and a bad cop, explaining how a good cop will cover up for a bad cop as their co-workers and on the same side essentially. Almost 30 years after the classic N.W.A. track, and things are unfortunately still the same. Last but certainly not least, FTP or Fuck the Police. No, not the N.W.A. song, but the YG song of the same name. The track was released on June 2nd, 2020 during the George Floyd protest, and essentially served as one of the anthems. It was also the second single from his fifth album, My Life 400, which was released in October that year. In typical West Coast fashion, the track sounds like a G-Funk modernized version of its predecessor. The chorus repeats the lines, F the Police. Simple, but powerful and catchy. This also wouldn't be YG's first foray into getting in his controversial song bag, as in 2016, he also released the tracks Police Get Away with Murder, which also took aim at the police, as well as the classic track FDP, featuring Nipsey Hussle, which took aim at then presidential candidate Donald Trump. Now, that was just some of the tracks by rappers throughout the years that took aim at police brutality and misconduct. Of course, there's several other songs that were released during this time period, but I kept it to 10. Now you can head to the comment section below and add in your picks and give your thoughts on the topic and let me know what kind of lists you'd like to see next. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.